And now from the Dynamic Life Cycle Innovations Family Interview area, one more time, here is Joni Smith.
Hey there, it's Team Addison in the house. Hey, look at our Blood Center of Wisconsin,
Woo-hoo!
Our phone bank. So Team Addison this year, who is in charge of the sparkly colors that the T-shirts are made of?
Me.
Were you in charge? Okay. And you decided on this absolutely gorgeous green?
Yeah.
Okay, now I would like to know how you figured out where the matching shoes were.
I didn't.
You did some shopping?
Yeah.
And there they were. It was just a beacon when
Yeah.
you see these shiny shoes. 11 years old. Addison, it's good to see you again. I see you brought mom and dad and your sister with.
Yep.
I see you brought a lot of friends.
Yeah.
And the phones are ringing already.
Yep.
I can't even keep track how many calls have already come in, but we will. We'll let you know what's going on over there because those phones are burning up. There is a lot of excitement and enthusiasm. It's good to see you guys again.
You too.
Some of the Children Miracle Network families that have been together for I don't know how many years.
I think that CMN has been supporting us for about 5 years now, but Addison was one of the heroes 2016-17, so pretty active with CMN since then.
6 calls have already come in.
Awesome! Keep them
6
coming!
calls. Team Addison, wow. You've got a big support system going on here.
Yep.
Calling in for pledges for the Children's Miracle Network hospitals at 784-KIDS. That's 5437. And every year it's just so fun to visit with you guys to find out what's happening. Addison, I got to tell you something. I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can read your poem. Now, can you read your poem? Or maybe your mom could, because mom can do it? Okay.
Okay.
This is a poem. Tell me a little bit about how this all came together.
Well, I think that it started as part of probably a school. Was it school, or you just decided to write a poem about yourself?
I just wanted to do it for fun.
So she wrote a poem, and she also wrote a short story, but she didn't want to share the short story. But she said that we could share her poem on air today just to kind of give people a sense of how she kind of sees herself.
Okay. And you're
I'll go ahead and read it.
Will you go ahead and read it?
I think I can do it, yeah.
Okay, all right.
So she titled it My Life by Addison Tarrence. I'm in a wheelchair going like I'm in a race. I feel like I live in a doctor's office. I'm always at a friend's house dancing and singing. I can't walk or jump, and you will rarely see me cry. I'm a big sister, and I have a big job to do. I'd love to be a popular singer with a mall in my house. I wish I could walk like everyone else, but I like me for who I am. I'm brave, and I always hope. I never give up, and that's how I cope.
Addison, that's the most beautiful poem I've ever heard.
Thank you.
That is just amazing. That is amazing that you're able to reach in so deep and put those words down on paper, and your mom is so strong to be able to read that. You know, Dad, you couldn't read that either, could you? Okay, all right, you're on the right couch then. Can we start with the Addison story, because I know it really well,
right?
But let's share it with some of our listeners.
Sure. So when Addison was about 18 months, we kind of started to notice some things. She seemed like she wasn't progressing like other kids. She was falling down all the time when she was walking, which she always kind of had a little bit different walk, but we figured she was just a toddler learning how to walk, so we didn't know any better. We were first-time parents. Started bringing it up to her doctors, who really kind of brushed it off because she was so young. But by the time she was 2, I really just felt in my gut like something wasn't right. And so I took it upon myself to call the University of Iowa, because we were living in Iowa at the time. And I asked an orthopedic doctor if he would take a look at her. And he said sure. So we went in, and he gave us some things to do. We went back. He's like, something just isn't right. I feel like something is just not right. So he asked a pediatric neurologist if we could come over and see her, and she said, sure, send him over. We went over. She told Addison to sit on the ground and then told her to get up. and when she couldn't get up without spreading her legs really far apart and almost climbing up her own legs with her hands, they looked at us and said, "I'm really sorry, but your child has a muscle disorder. Now we have to figure out which one it is." So we went through a bunch of testing. They told us they suspected it was spinal muscular atrophy, but they asked us to not go home and research it until we knew for sure.
So what did you do?
So, of course, I went home and got on the internet and looked it up. And when you read about SMA, it's very heartbreaking. It is like ALS, but in children. It is progressive. There is no cure. Most children pass away before the age of 2. It is the #1 genetic killer of children. And we were devastated. This was our first child. We had no idea that we were carriers of this disorder, which both of us have to be in order for a child to have it. So when we got the phone call that we needed to come back in, we knew. This was January 5th of 2010. They told us that she did have spinal muscular atrophy, and I just remember kind of feeling like I was in a tunnel. I really couldn't take in what they were saying. I was super upset. I remember when we left, I called my mother, and I was in tears, and I couldn't really find the right words. I just said, "Mom, I can't lose her. It'll kill me if I lose her." And now we know that we're actually lucky. There's 3 types of SMA, and Addison has type 3, and what that means is she does walk or has walked at some point in time, and she is expected to live a full lifespan. Her disease is just slowly going to get worse over time. So when Addison was diagnosed, she was almost 3, and she walked until the spring of 2015, so she was almost 8, and she is now 11 and a half. So she's been in a wheelchair for a few years, which is tough. It's hard to know that she had that and that was taken away from her. It makes me really sad for her. It makes me really angry. But she's a super awesome, tough kid, and she does really well with it. And she does a lot of really cool things.
Can I give you a little something to cheer you up right now? Because I think maybe you could use a little cheering up. We have 10 calls that have come in already.
That's great.
That is huge. Let's hear for the 10 calls.
That's great.
Okay. Sharing stories like this, all of our eyes are getting teared up. Addison, you too. Are you okay with us talking about you?
Yeah.
You still all right with that? Okay, good, because you know what? We just got another call. So now we're up to 11. Mom, how are you doing?
I'm okay.
Okay.
You know, I always said as time went on, it would probably get easier because we would know more about it. But it doesn't. It really doesn't get any easier because when you talk about it, it brings back all those emotions, remembering that day. But as she gets older, her needs just change. And so we're really just dealing with new stuff all the time.
What's
as she's
happening?
getting older.
What's new that's happened in the last year?
Well, in the last year, she started going to Mayo on the recommendation of one of our doctors here at Gunderson, and she is getting now the first ever approved FDA treatment. It's not a cure, but it's a treatment. It is an injection into her spine every 4 months, and the idea is that it is supposed to stop her disease progression. She won't gain back anything she's lost, but the idea is that it'll stop it so she won't lose any more.
How are you feeling about that?
Well, we were really excited about it when it became available, and we had to wait over a year before she was able to get it.
Okay.
Because of insurance and things like that. But if we can stop it where it's at, we just keep hoping someday there is a cure. And so we're just trying to do everything we can for her to keep her as healthy as possible. And one of the really big concerns with any muscle disorder is the risk of respiratory failure and respiratory infections, because the respiratory system is a muscle. And I didn't even think about that at first. But honestly, that's what most kids end up passing away from, is going into respiratory failure because those muscles are so weak. And so when she gets sick, we get really worried. We have lots of machines that we have to use. But if we can kind of stop it where it's at, then my hope is that every time she's sick, it's not worse than the time before. And so we're just kind of hanging on by any thread of hope we can.
Being proactive has got to help, knowing that there's treatments, because that's new news.
That is new news.
That is new news. And starting out with that, Addison, does it hurt when you get those shots, honey?
No.
Oh, good. That's a good thing. That's good. You know what? There's more calls coming in. John, I've lost track. What was the last total that we've had? 12. 12 calls right now at 784-KIDS-5437. And so we had talked before, and there was horse therapy on the horizon. What's happened with that?
Yeah, so that's actually how we first kind of got connected with Children's Miracle Network. We were at some doctor appointments here, and the social worker came in and said, hey, do you know about Children's Miracle Network? They are here for you. They can help you with different funding and things like that. And we had been looking into horse therapy with Horse Sense for special riders. And we asked them if they would help cover the cost of it, and for the past 5 years they have helped. Actually, this last year they paid for her entire year. So
Do you have a favorite horse?
No.
Do you know the names of any of the horses that you ride?
Yeah.
What are some of their names?
Kit, Taz, QT, and Blue.
Oh, you do know them all. You just don't have a favorite. You like them all.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're up to 13 calls. You know what John behind us is doing? My partner in the morning. Instead of writing the numerals, he's putting them in Roman numerals now just to throw me off. But he's not going to, because I can count up to 13 with Roman numerals. I know what the X and what the ones are. But if he starts, putting the, how you put the,
Right.
then it'll be all over with. But I don't care, because that means that more calls are coming in. So we'll do what we have to do. 784-KIDS-5437. So still a horse therapy fan.
Yep, so she does horse therapy on Tuesday nights still, and she will do that through the end of October. And they do have a winter session, but we take a break. It's too cold for her. She doesn't produce the heat like any of the rest of us because she doesn't move as well. And she has hardly any muscle mass. And so we just don't want her to get sick. So we don't do it during the winter, but she'll start back up again in the summer next year.
So some of the activities at school, what's happening there?
What's happening at school?
What's happening at school?
Nothing.
Just school?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
And
she's a good student. She does really well. She, besides doing the horse therapy, she also participates in an adaptive swim program through the Y.
Really?
So she does that. Yep. She likes to swim.
So now we're up to 14 calls.
That's awesome. That's great.
That's really awesome, isn't it? Every time we hear that noise, that's a good thing. 784-KIDS-5437. So if you had a wish, what to wish for, what would you like to wish for? Would you want to wish for a vacation? Would you want to wish for a mall in your... Oh, you already wished for a mall in your house. What would you like to wish for? If you had one wish that could be granted, what would it be?
To be able to walk again.
Yeah. To be able to walk again.
That's mine too.
Yeah. I think just about everybody in this room, that's their wish. And thank you for being able to tell us that. You're a good big sister.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your little sister's name?
Aspen.
Is she here somewhere?
She is here.
There she is, over there.
Yep,
Yeah.
she's over there.
Yeah. Is she your buddy?
Yeah.
She help you out at home?
Yeah.
What does she help you do?
She helps me clean stuff that I can't clean myself.
You got your little sister to clean your room for you?
What does she do for you every morning?
She makes my bed.
That's a good little sister. She makes your bed. You know what? We're up to 15 calls. That's amazing. That is truly amazing.
She is a good little sister. And when Addison got diagnosed, Aspen was only 7 months old. And because it's genetic, we had to have her tested as well. And she doesn't have it, but she has a 50% chance that she is also a carrier. But in some respects, I feel like SMA took something away from her too, because she never really got to be my baby because I had to help Addison. And so she had to grow up a lot faster than she really should have had to. And she has to do things around the house that probably most kids her age don't have to, because there's only so much time in the day. And Addison has some personal care needs that she needs me for. And so I rely on her sister a lot to help me do things. And she's great.
What is a typical morning, what does it shake out to be at your house?
It's kind of a team effort and a lot of chaos.
Yeah. Oh, it's chaos. Now Dad pipes up. You pipe up with the chaos.
Yes, it is. Every morning.
So what happens?
So usually I get up first. Dad's not far behind. Dad goes and tells the two girls to get up. Whether or not they actually start to wake up and move around is another story.
And then he goes back to sleep.
And then we actually built a house in La Crescent that was handicap accessible for Addison. And so she is able to get out of her bed, into her wheelchair, and into the restroom by herself. And so she will go in and go to the bathroom and start to get dressed. And her sister's doing the same thing at the same time. And then they eat breakfast, and I come out and I help her finishing with like her personal grooming needs, combing her hair, finishing getting ready to go to school. We're usually running out the door. I'm brewing a coffee 30 seconds before we leave,
Right.
Pure chaos.
Right, because your needs are at the
Right.
bottom of the list
I usually
there.
don't eat breakfast, like usually running around like crazy.
Do the girls ride a bus?
They do not ride a bus. I am lucky enough to actually work in La Crescent for the city, and I can drop them off on the way to work. So,
by the way, I was supposed to tell you this, and it just hit me, so I'm glad I kind of remembered. Your very good friends, the Shimshaks, were here this morning.
I know they sent me a text message at 6:30 saying we just talked to Joni.
Okay, good. At least you know that, because
I woke up to the ding.
Okay, because Deb is a buddy of mine.
She is.
Yeah.
And she's great, and so are all the girls at City Hall. Every one of them today wore their Team Addison T-shirts, so everybody at City Hall in La Crescent was walking around wearing one. And
it's amazing.
Yeah.
So you know what? We're going to have a goal, and our goal is 20 calls. Guess what number we're at right now? We're at 17. So
we're
doing
almost
the
there.
math,
We're almost there.
Almost there. 3 more calls is what we're working for. And that's a big deal, because each and every person that cares about kids is calling us. And that's what they're doing. The money is staying here locally. The money is helping parents, kids, families that need it. What was it that they helped you out with the Children's Miracle Network?
So far with the Children's Miracle Network, they have paid hundreds and hundreds of dollars for Addison's horse therapy. But we know that our story is just starting, because Addison's needs are going to get greater the older she gets. We anticipate that we will be spending even more time in the hospital. She was hospitalized last year one time. And we are now making multiple trips a year up to Mayo for these injections. So I think that we'll be getting a hold of them to help us out with some more things as well. And as she gets older, there are some modifications that are going to need to be made. Home, vehicle. We have some big needs that are coming up in the next few years.
Over the last day and a half or whatever it's been, we have been talking to many families, and we've also been talking to members of the steering committee for Children's Miracle Network.
Yes.
And when they get these requests in, nothing is taken more seriously than a request from a family. And it brings them such joy to be able to do that. And we did it.
We got
our
there.
20. How about a big thank you?
Thank you.
You know what? That might have been Grandma that put us over the top. Is that right? I think that's right. That Grandma. She's always there, isn't she?
Yep.
In closing, what would you like to say?
I would just like to encourage people, if you're on the fence about calling in or donating, it's Friday, probably payday, everybody can donate something, and there is no greater feeling than knowing that you're helping someone else out, especially somebody that's in need. And Children's Miracle Network is there for so many different families with so many different issues, children from all different kinds of backgrounds, and they all have different kinds of needs. Some it might be food vouchers, some it might be gas, some it might be equipment, some it might be some sort of therapy. But it's something that these families appreciate, they don't take for granted, and every single one of them, I can confidently say, appreciates it so much.
Well said. And by the way, another call came in while you were closing. You're listening to the Children's Miracle Network Radiothon, a service of the La Crosse Media Group.